Oh, hi. Um, this is week one of our History 123 Fall 2019. Just want to do kind of a brief introductory video and to kind of get you ready for the lecture that I'll post here on what is history and why study history. So I hope that you've had a chance to watch the video where I went over the syllabus, the books, course expectations, and Blackboard use. I hope you've done the syllabus scavenger hunt and also taken the pre-course survey, as well as posted your introductions on Blackboard, and I've posted my own there as well. So if you haven't had a chance to do any of those things, maybe you can pause the video here and go do that and then come back. So this week's lecture and PowerPoint will be on the ideas about what is history and why study history. First, I want you to think about, is there one agreed upon definition about what history is? So maybe it helps to kind of start to think about what history is not. And history is not a series of events to simply remember and kind of spit back out. For me, it's about the human experience and the conditions that created those events. Primarily, history is about change over time. Astronomer Carl Sagan once said, "You have to know the past to understand the present." And so for myself, that's an important part of doing history. We look to the past to maybe help us understand the present moment a little bit better. In addition to that, people want to know where they came from. What's our origin stories? There's this age-old question of who am I and what is my place in the world? And throughout this semester for this class, I will be challenging you to think historically. And thinking historically can be very challenging, especially when we use current times to try to understand the past. As you know, the events of the past are always being reviewed and reflected upon in different ways, depending on our own point of view and the decade from which we were looking at it. So, as the interpretation of historical events change over time, so too does our understanding of those events. So, this gets into an area which is called historiography. And historiography is the history of histories, the ways that history has been interpreted, the different schools of thought about historical events. And so we will discuss in a little more depth in the next lecture historiography and what that is to give you a more clear understanding about historiography. Now, I want to touch upon the readings that I've assigned. I talked about that briefly in my syllabus review. And the reason I've assigned what I've assigned is that I want you to have a broad understanding of how historians do history. So any reading I assign over the semester, it's not my intention that you have to agree or disagree with the material presented, but rather I hope the reading presents a jumping off point so you can dive in and start drawing your own conclusions about the history of America in the 20th century. And we'll look at the authors of the two books, the main books that I've asked you to read this semester, Paul Johnson and Howard Zinn. We'll look a little bit at both of those authors in the next video that I'll post here. I'd recommend as you're doing your readings that you take notes so that you can craft your post for the weekly discussion board. I want your post to show that you've closely read and carefully thought about all the ideas presented. I also want to see that you've started to form your own ideas about the materials and are prepared to engage in a discussion about what you've found. So think of me this semester as your tour guide, and we are going on a journey back to the past. back to the 1900s in USA in particular. We may go a little bit earlier than that, so I can bring in a little bit more context so you can understand what's happening at the turn of the century, but we'll primarily be focused on the 20th century. I've visited this place numerous times in my research, but I'm always discovering new things about it. And that's what keeps history interesting. I don't have all the answers, but I can certainly help guide you to find the answers for yourself. And so, like any place that we love to visit, the past is always offering a new and unique perspective. So, I look forward to our journey together this semester, and I hope you enjoy it as well.